I'll just give an introduction to Mr. Prasant Saha. He's an entrepreneur, digital strategist, and educational consultant, and in technology and process specialist. So Mr. Saha is an entrepreneur and organizational strategist with over 30 years of industry experience in core engineering and IT consultancy services in global markets. As an electrical and electronics engineering with a post graduation in management, he has worked with leading engineering companies like L&T, ABB, TCS, driving business growth and customer relationship in different parts of the world. With a deep passion of the insight, exploration, and ideation, Prasan has driven professional experience with successful translational journey in global leadership role, connecting and engaging at CXO levels, strategic engagements and relationship, go-to-market strategies, and business expansions. He has traveled widely, presented papers, spoken at leading conferences and events. He hails from Kolkata and based out of London. So, sir, I'll share. I will I will pass in the.
Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much for like being with us today, presenting, and it's all yours, sir. Please continue.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible?
You're audible, sir. Perfectly audible. Your screen is visible. Please continue.
Okay, and I hope you can see me now as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. It's a pleasure. So we have 38 people on the call. The numbers are, I can see, growing. So good to have you all. Good to be able to speak to all of you in this very uncertain times. In the midst of a pandemic, we are going through various, I would say, changes. The world is changing rapidly, and the pace of change has become even more because of the pandemic. So I hope you all are keeping safe. You are doing, you are able to take care of yourselves, your families, and let's see what we can achieve in the next hour or so. So I'll keep it a little interactive. So if any of you have any comments, feel free to raise your hands and I'll be happy to sort of address any questions that you might have. What I'm going to talk about today is a slightly broad topic, because as the world is changing, as the pace of our lives are changing rapidly, we are taking a look at the education, I would say, infrastructure, the education system, specifically the higher education system, in terms of what is required to be sort of seen when students as well as faculty are in a digital age trying to reach out for higher education in these times. So let's get to the point by looking at some of the core sort of aspects in terms of what is available today as part of the Indian education system, the infrastructure, if I may say so, as well as what is the sort of global, so-called, our understanding of the global environment, and what should be the go for or way to go in terms of the approaching, I would say, the environment in terms of where there might be additional constraints in terms of student and faculty movement between one country to another country, between digital platforms taking priority over the erstwhile sort of systems of education. So, Amit, should I start?
Yes, sir. Please continue. So you can start, sir.
Okay. I'm just seeing my screens should progress. So I'll start with a quote by Martin Luther King, because he said that the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character. That is the goal of true education. This could not have been more true in today's age, wherein education is not just what we get to learn through an intensive curriculum. Whatever we are studying, it could be the science subjects, it could be the art subject, it could be humanities, and so on. But when we look at universities, when we look at courses, at least in the global arena, it focuses on the overall sort of development of an understanding in the field of what students are looking to study and what they achieve as final outcomes as part of the curriculum. As students of the digital era, what do you expect from university education? Because if I look back about 5 years, 10 years, or when I was a student, I was I studied engineering, I studied management. I have been sort of talking to students across various age groups. I have seen a major transformation in the thought process of students, say from 20 years back to 10 years back to 5 years back and today. In the last 5 years, the thought process has changed remarkably. I will tell you, about 1 year back, I was talking to a student fresh out of their high school, and the student was asking whether I should be studying, or that particular student should be studying in India or should be studying abroad, and what are the key options that is available to him or her in terms of higher education. I realized that the level of information, the level of data that a particular student has today is enormous because of internet, because of access to different sources, statistics. The level of information, the level of awareness of the standards of education, irrespective of the country, the detailed understanding of the curriculum that should be offered as part of a particular course, that level of awareness is very different to what students would have had, say, 10 years back or 15 years back. So as students of the digital era, what are the key expectations? So when I look at this question, I find that there are some key pillars. One of the key pillars are the learning resources. Like, how do you choose a particular, or how would a student choose a particular course or a particular curriculum? Because fresh out of say high school, students sometimes have the confusion, because the parents might want the students to opt for a particular course. You might, or the student might have their particular aspirations. The society or the industries may provide a completely different picture, because sometimes it may look like, okay, today's everybody talks about cloud, everybody talks about innovation, entrepreneurship, artificial intelligence. So there are so many choices available today. So it is like being in a very fluid situation where somebody needs to decide. And then, given the other confusions in terms of the logistics, in terms of the cost, how and where a particular good college is, these are, I feel, and based on my understanding, what I've seen and studied in terms of my interaction with the different institutions, I find that these are the key, I would say, considerations. One is the faculty, the library and the reference resources, the IT resources, and the university infrastructure. These are the four key elements in terms of identifying and taking a sort of good look at these four elements to decide whether a particular institute that the student or even the faculty they are willing to join, or they're looking forward to join, they have these key elements available with them or not. And in the digital age, actually most of this is overtaken or is embedded within a digital platform, and that's what makes today's scenario significantly different from what was the scenario, say, 5 years back or 10 years back. Most of the library and reference sources are no longer in physical book form, they are in the digital form. IT resources, again, part of a digital platform. We are talking about collaboration tools, we are talking about digital knowledge management methods, we are talking about part of the content that the faculty has to offer is in the digital form. Again, the university infrastructure, the collaboration methodologies among the students and among the faculty, and between the faculty and the students, is also managed through the digital platform. Even as a faculty, because I know some of the participants today in the call are professors, you must have realized that a lot of the content that you were using is, say, 5 years, 10 years back, today has moved on to the digital platform. So they have to be part of the sort of knowledge management portal or the system that is then shared with the students. And this trend is going to get even stronger as we move forward. So these are some of the key elements. And what do we see? In terms of the statistics, we see that the percentage of students, in fact, I'm referring to a particular statistics published formally by one of the key UK-based research organizations. And these numbers, though I have picked up this graph from 2017, it was published in actually 2019. A huge majority of the students believed that to decide on a particular course or to decide on a particular university, they would overwhelmingly look at the digital content in terms of and the amount of importance that they would give to these four key elements is significantly high. As you can see, almost close to 90% of the students believe that these are some of the key elements. And I'm sure that these figures are not going to be much different even in India. Similarly, the quality of teaching is another key pillar in terms of deciding which institute a student would opt for in terms of their particular course or the curriculum. Within the quality of teaching, these are the key elements: qualification and reputation of the institute, as well as the faculty, because in the UK, there are a number of institutes which are actually produced several Nobel laureates. There are multiple research papers that are getting published in international journals. There are several citations being received by these universities. Similarly, the content in terms of that is used by the faculty and the institute to deliver those courses. The feedback and the evaluation is very important. And there is, I think, even in Indian universities, when I'm speaking to several of them, there is a lot of, I would say, transparency, lot of new regulations that are being implemented to ensure a free and fair feedback and evaluation system within those universities. The industry engagement is again is very important, irrespective of the course or curriculum, and that plays a key role in terms of ensuring employability of the students. And the student engagement, that's what finally makes a difference in terms of the overall development and learning of the student. Again, within this, if you see, most of these elements are embedded within the digital platform in today's digital age. I think you all agree that most of it, except for a little bit of sort of the faculty reputation and the specific skills of the faculty or the industry engagement part of it, everything else is within a digital platform, and that makes a huge difference on the recognition, on the performance and the delivery of the institute, and how they are able to manage the whole process. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult, and universities are going to be left behind unless they have this, I would say, a fully mature and developed digital platform. And I'll come to that. I'll give you more examples in terms of how institutes and universities are actively investing, are actively looking at these aspects to ensure that they are able to come to a global at a global par in terms of their ability to deliver and on these key parameters. Again, taking a look at the statistics in terms of what the UK, I would say, students are feeling. The Research Institute reached out to the huge number of, I think the sample size of students they used was close to 100,000. They found that a huge number of students felt that these were the key parameters based on which they would select and opt for a particular course or a curriculum. And I think most of you will agree that these numbers or these some sort of percentages are not going to significantly vary even in the context of India, right? The third key pillar is the regulation and the accountability. This is a framework for in India in terms of the UGC, ICT, how they affiliate colleges and how the colleges then roll out the courses, and these courses get their accreditation from ICT, UGC, or the concerned regulatory authorities. Having said so, the um, the key, I would say, in fact, in 2018, the Human Resource Division of the Indian government, they looked at how the industry is moving in terms of online education, because they realized that in the digital age, the time has come that when a large number of students would opt for online education, but definitely online education cannot replace the importance and the relevance of university based accredited courses. So they have to find a way of trying to bring the online education in limelight and in trying to give certain recognition to certain online educations that might be used. I'll come to this point a little later in my presentation, wherein their online education is also becoming part of the mainstream without diluting the importance and the significance of university-based curriculum and courses. So what they've identified a couple of key parameters that whichever institute is trying to provide online education, they need to have 5 years of experience, and these are actually still evolving. Even when I was looking at some of the recent discussions that is happening at the ministry level, these figures and parameters have changed a little bit, but more or less the idea remains the same in terms of the recognition of the institute which is offering these online courses, whether what type of digital platforms they are using, whether they have got a certain number of or a certain amount of recognition or not, and so on and so forth. So having said so, it is very important to understand the relevance and the way the online educations have to sort of play their role along with the mainstream education. So recently when I was talking to some of the universities, they said that going forward, and mostly because of the developments due to the pandemic, it has been agreed at a ministry level that students would be allowed to take certain online courses and get a credit transfer as part of the regular courses, which is a very good, I would say, very good step forward in terms of bringing online education to the mainstream. But to what extent? What are the students actually learning? How much is their sort of overall understanding of the subject? Through which institutes are they taking those online courses? These are certain elements which the particular sort of regulatory body has to ascertain, has to ensure. And I think then it can really help not only the institutes but the students as well, because some of the topics, some of the subjects might be very difficult for the concerned university to deliver on their own because of the availability of faculty and so on. Having said so, what the industry feels that ultimately accountability plays a key role in terms of when the particular courses are being delivered by the concerned universities. Many places, it's not a problem only in India, it is everywhere. There are good institutes, there are not so good institutes. And it is very important because us as a student, you are giving or investing your next few years of your life in terms of studying at a particular university, and that will define what your future career would look like. And if during the course of this duration, if you feel that this is not, you are not achieving what you wanted to achieve at the beginning of this course, then ultimately somebody has to be accountable for that, and it cannot go on in that form or shape in the subsequent years. So this is a major area which is being looked at by all the regulatory authorities. Hello. Is there a question? Amit, is there a question? Okay. Hi, I will go ahead. So what I was saying, that in terms of accountability, I think even UGC, AICT, the concerned universities are taking a number of steps in terms of ensuring or ascertaining the accountability towards the delivery of the courses and the quality of the courses that are being sort of delivered. So having looked at these three pillars, it is now, I think, possible for us to understand how the overall framework works and what it should look like. Coming back to my original question, that as students or as faculty in the digital age, what are we looking at? How should the system look like? So we have already seen that learning resources and the university infrastructure plays a dominant role. Along with that, the quality and the delivery of teaching is another very important aspect that needs to be fully understood and ascertained. Regulation and accountability are equally important in ensuring that as a sustainable model, this will be enforced so that students get what they aspire to achieve, and ultimately the goals and the larger goals of the society are met. And that these three key elements provide the student experience which actually makes the learning complete. Only academic learning or only knowing the particular subject in terms of the theory and the practical aspects is not the only goal. Getting a feel of the overall student experience makes the learning complete and ensures the student is able to face the industry and do well in his or her career. Having said so, we have not touched upon some of the softer skills. The institutes need to ensure that they are inculcating an atmosphere of love, diversity, acceptance, integrity, and respect as part of the overall curriculum. These are very important, and even as part of whatever course or curriculum a particular university is offering, there has to be elements of which focuses on this. There are some behavioral aspects. There are certain subjects or certain papers focusing on integrity, focusing on sustainability, focusing on environment, which goes without saying that they are relevant, they are very, I would say, essential in the overall success of the individual when he or she goes out in the industry as part of his or her career. The final and not the least are some of these elements. How a student will decide on which course or curriculum he or she has to or would like to sort of opt for, the cost, the accessibility, the availability, the duration of the course, the tenure, the location. These play a very important role in terms of deciding which course where. Now, coming back to that earlier question, when the student asked, which course should I be or what should I be doing now? So while we talk about the quality of the university, yeah, we know that number one, number two, Oxford University, Cambridge University are two of the leading universities in UK with one of the topmost ratings globally. But before deciding on that particular university, we have to look at, or the student has to look at all these aspects, and the cost, accessibility, availability, duration, location plays a key role in terms of whether he or she, you like it or not, would be able to opt for that particular course or not. Now, I'll keep it there. Look at the Indian higher education scenario. In 2018-19, there were 37.4 million students who enrolled for higher education in India. And out of that, I'll just share statistics about close to 1 million students applied to or enrolled in private institutes. And there are just about another 1% of students who opted to study at overseas institutes like in the UK, US, Singapore, Japan, Australia, and so on. Some of these are all overall just about 200,000 or slightly more than that, 250,000 students enrolled. So if I take out that roughly 1.5 million, almost 99% or 98.5% students are studying in India in so-called government colleges or semi-government colleges, sort of independent colleges. That's the scenario today. And we have to, and I leave this question open because you all are from the education sector. You know some of the constraints, some of the challenges, some of the sort of bottlenecks that the institutes in India are going through in terms of delivering or providing quality education to the students, specifically at an undergraduate and postgraduate level. So this is the graph, and this is growing, and it is believed that at this rate of growth, and particularly given the pandemic, it is believed that by end of next year in 2021, the rate of growth will be even larger in India. So India would need larger number of institutes delivering niche career-oriented courses to the students. So this number was, this 32% that you see was provided by the ministry a couple of months back, even before the pandemic. But now it is believed that this percentage will grow at a more rapid rate because of the large number of Indians who have returned back to India from overseas countries, more number of students opting to study in India itself rather than traveling abroad. So the enrollment in Indian institutes is going to go up significantly. Now, this is a very interesting topic, the charm of overseas education. It is a sort of dream for many students in India to study abroad, that yes, given an opportunity, given the right resources, they would like to study abroad. And no doubt, it's definitely a point to be considered because of the global ratings, because of the charm that studying in an overseas location has to offer. In the last year, 37,500 students traveled from India to the UK for higher studies. If I look at global numbers, this was more than 130 or 140,000 students if I combine US, Canada, UK, and some of the European institutes. So this is what the numbers are looking like. But is it all, how much of this is actually true? true in the sense, in terms of overall achievement, in terms of attaining some of the pillars that we talked about in the previous slides, how much of that is actually being achieved. So let's try to understand this. Of course, when students are coming for abroad for higher studies, their main top subjects that they're studying are computer science, business, finance, engineering, biosciences. These are the popular subjects. It's not that, because there are some reasons. Getting admission to some of the recognized institutes in India is, I would say, difficult. Not every student can aspire to get enrollment in the IITs or the IIMs or the ISBs. The competition is too much, too high, and sometimes the feeling is that probably trying to get enrolled in overseas would be a little easier if there are sufficient resources are available, mainly in terms of the monetary resources. And let's get some of the facts right. What is the understanding? Is that a myth or is that a reality? Cost of study in the UK. I'll just give some example. How much does it take to study in the UK, both for an undergraduate course and an sort of postgraduate course? In the UK, generally an undergraduate course is for 3 years, a postgraduate course is for 1 year. That's a big charm, because in India, to do a master's, I think you have to spend 2 years, sometimes 3 years, I don't know. But in the UK, mostly, most of the postgraduate courses are 1 year courses. And undergraduate in India, like an engineering, could be 3 years in the UK, whereas in India, generally it is 4 years. But in the UK, it could be 4 years if you include 1 year of industry work experience and so on. But let's take a look at the cost. Average tuition fee for overseas students is 20 lakhs per year. Average food and lodging expense about 8 lakhs. Visa, travel and insurance cost about 2 lakhs. So total cost for studying in the UK is about 30 lakhs. And if it's a 1 year postgraduate course, it will be 30 lakhs approximately. If it's a 3 year undergraduate course, it would be somewhere around 75 to 80 lakhs. And this is at an average. If I look at some of the more premium colleges like Imperial College, like the King's College, the University of Warwick, Cambridge, Oxford, these figures would be significantly higher, because the tuition fees for private students are higher. In the UK, there is a system that tuition fees for UK nationals and European Union nationals is different from students who come from other countries, namely India, China, and so on and so forth. So these costs that I'm saying are mentioned over here are for Indian students. So that gives you an idea in terms of what is the sort of cost of studying in the UK. Identifying the right universities, very important. I have met so many students who travel to UK or to the US just for the sake of it. If I look at the ranking, or if I ask the student to go a little deeper in terms of what is actually being offered as part of the course or the curriculum or the teaching rating, the research, the citations. These are parameters which are now available very easily. You can go to the web, look at some of these parameters, and then decide. Just for the sake of, I would like to travel to UK or US and study at a foreign university, just because I have the money, doesn't cut too much of ice once you have completed the course and then looking for a job. So this plays a very important role, because there are so many Indian institutes who have much higher standards of teaching, much higher levels of infrastructure than what is available even in the overseas institutes. So if a student is thinking of traveling abroad for higher studies, it is very important to do a proper research, understand which institute are the right institutes for them, and then take that decision. Number 3 is employability options are limited with student visa. This is something which is a myth, or this is something which most of the students try to ignore. If they feel that if they travel abroad for an overseas education, they can land up with a job. Specifically in Europe and in the UK, students have to come to study through a student visa route. And as per the student visa route, none of the institutes offer campus placements to students who are from outside the UK or the European Union. So these statistics will tell you they have only these two categories: students who are from the UK or students who are from other countries, other European Union countries. There is no parameter of how many Indian students are getting jobs in the UK, because these numbers are so small. There are hardly the highly meritorious students or students who probably have some good contacts in the industry might land up with jobs in UK or European Union. Most of the 90%, 95% of those students coming from India have to go back to their respective countries or to their respective places, because it is very difficult for students to get jobs here with a student visa. Of course, these rules are changing in the UK. UK is now saying that after the pandemic, they will allow students to stay back for 2 more years with a student visa and look for jobs. But the onus of finding a job in the UK, it rests with the student, not with the institute. And there are no campus interviews which actually runs within these universities for non-European Union or non-UK students to provide employment in the local market. So this is a very important criteria which needs to be looked at before students just jump to the conclusion that traveling abroad would be the right choice for him or her. So Government of India has been looking into all of these aspects in terms of the UGC Equip plan, and they are focusing on these 10 key areas to promote uh, or to improve the standard of education in the Indian universities, to provide better learning environments for students within Indian institutes, and then bring a holistic reform in the overall development, particularly considering the fact that we are in the digital age. So in the digital age, things have changed. I have talked about earlier in terms of the key pillars of how the digital platforms are taking, I would say, the front seat, are taking the driver's seat in terms of bringing the different elements of holistic education under one umbrella. And this initiative runs are similar, which is being promoted actively by Government of India through the UGC Equip plan. So it's focusing on expanding the access. You are as a faculty, I know there are several of people who are in this call are from the faculty side. So I'm sure many of these specific highlighted words are ringing bells. The UGC Equip plan is focusing on excellence, governance, assessment, and all of these. The reason why I highlighted those particular terms is everything is related to a digital platform, and that's the core focus that universities, institutes are supposed to invest on bringing these holistic reforms through adoption of necessary digital channels, through adoption of necessary digital resources, so that ultimately the students stand benefited. This is what the model is going to look like. Through the global collaboration model, what the institutes, what I as a consultant in this domain, what we are looking at, how we can address some of these expectations of the Indian education system through global collaborations. Can we provide joint certified courses to Indian students through these collaborations, the Indian institutes as well as the overseas institutes? It should not be necessary for students to study or travel abroad. because we have already seen that not more than 1% of the students are anywhere able to travel abroad because it's so expensive. So 99% of the students are getting deprived of quality education because of no fault of theirs, because the institutes are trying to do their best, the teachers are trying to do their best, but the overall system needs a holistic improvement. So, and the best way of doing that is through global collaborations, because if we can offer joint certified courses through the Indian universities, so number one, it would be approved by UGC or AICT, so the students stand to sort of receive a recognized accredited certification. However, the digital platform or the content could be extended to receive the best of the trade inputs or the support from the overseas universities. The hybrid model, use of digital channels, classroom-based lectures, labs, workshops, dual enrollment. We have talked about student experience, which some of the Indian institutes are striving to deliver, but there are bottlenecks, there are constraints. And through these digital channels, it should be possible for students to get those dual enrollment, get study in two universities, and without the need of traveling. Higher employability, because anyway the overseas universities do not guarantee any employability, but the student is studying in India, is getting the Indian recognized and accredited certificate, so the employability is much better. And as well as most of the Indian universities today, in some way or shape, they are trying to ensure the employability of students through campus interviews and so on and so forth. So that continues. And the courses could offer optional study to UK or Europe, so that uh, I would say desire of trying to go or look, get an experience of the overseas university firsthand could always be plugged in through an optional study tour and so on and so forth. So what are we looking at? We are looking at a niche courses, international curriculum, global faculty at an Indian price. So this is possible. It is not just a dream today. This is something which we are discussing with many universities, many institutes in India, and hopefully we'll get there. And ultimately, who would be the biggest, I would say, beneficiary? The students, because 99% of the students are not able to uh, realize or achieve or study in some of these courses or some of these curriculums, uh, but given the right opportunity, they would love to do that. So that's what we are all aiming for. I talked about the digital platform. This is the digital platform which would form the backbone. Many of these institutes, IITs, and I don't know if some of you are from some of those institutes. Uh, these institutes are investing actively in some of these digital channels, digital platforms to bring a holistic reform in the overall system. But ultimately, I think we are aiming for that, and hopefully through these global collaborations, we'll be able to bring a significant improvement in the coming days. So I'll stop here. What's the time? I think I've taken about 45 minutes. So any questions? Amit, back to you.
Yes, sir. So I think if anybody has any questions regarding higher education, and because sir is an expert into higher education and university level collaborations, then I think it's a good time to ask him. We'll give it a pause for a minute or so. Thank you so much, sir. So I mean, we very much appreciate this detailed analysis of the Indian and the UK educational spectrum, and we definitely understand that there is a huge scope for students to actually go out, and it is already happening. It's almost like twice the number we saw before. So more and more students are going to UK, and we definitely expect that in near future we will have more students from India going to UK and other countries. So we had speakers from Singapore today, and we have one speaker from UK also. So we understand that as like time proceeds, more and more universities will start collaborating abroad, and many of the students will be more intrigued by these ideas, and they will go on like venturing abroad. So thank you so much, sir. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you personally for taking this call and spending this time with us. And on behalf of the whole organizing committee and our college principal, sir, and the department of head, Gautam, sir, I'd like to thank you again. And also to all the viewers, the listeners, thank you so much for being very nice throughout this whole session. And so, Prasant sir, I mean, you do understand some of these people would have questions in university level collaborations or student level, and they may reach out to you on email or anything.
Yeah, that's why I've mentioned my email over here. Feel free to sort of drop any questions that you may have. So this is an evolving area. This is an area which is going to take further shape in the coming days. And I hope ultimately with the right digital tools, with the right digital channels, with the right intent, we will get there. The gap between good Indian institutes and the so-called good institutes in the US and UK is not that much. I have another paper where I'm trying to do a study in terms of why the ratings of Indian universities are so different from a good institute in the UK. Because I talked about the Times rating, so if I look at the rating of say IIT Kanpur or IIT Kharagpur vis-a-vis the Cambridge University or the Oxford University, what is different? Because I know personally I have spoken to some of these; they're very good. Or for that matter, Jadavpur University. What is wrong with that? But why it has to be so down in the list compared to some of the not so good universities in the UK? And there are certain parameters which we can ignore. In terms of there is a key parameter in terms of number of international students studying in that institute. So India does not need, because India has so many Indian students, so they are not looking to other countries to come and enroll within those universities. They'll be happy to give as much enrollment to Indian students. So on that parameter, they will never score as high as a university in the US or the UK. So the rating continues to be lagging for Indian university, but it's not a matter of concern. We have to look at the other elements of where a holistic education can be provided to the students. Ultimately, the students have to get the right resources, have to get the right, I would say, the curriculum to be able to sort of learn the topic or learn the subject to do well or excel in his or her career. That's the main goal.
Yeah. So thank you so much, sir. So we look forward to having more collaborations with you, discussions in the near future. And I'll just bring this conference to an end with. May I share one more slide, sir, if you allow me kindly? Thank you so much, sir. So I think we'll bring this session to a closer now, and because we had really wonderful speakers today from National University of Singapore, Dr. Jay Prakash, and from Ceres, and from National University of Singapore Department of Physics we had Dr. Tanmay Basu also, and then we have from Arohan we had the president and CEO, Mr. Prasant Saha, and I'd like to personally thank everyone from our principal sir on behalf of our whole organizing team and the BC College fraternity. I'd like to also thank my co-host Dr. Sudipta Rai. We didn't have much I couldn't have managed this whole thing without Sudipta's help into this one, and of course our principal sir's encouragement into getting into like so much of collaborative activities that we are doing recently, and we look forward to having your support in international level so that we can continue um, this session, this conference, this workshop so that more and more students and the faculties can reach out internationally and start collaborating with various universities in research in other aspects also. So thank you again, sir, and I'd like to thank all the viewers, and we look forward to seeing you soon again. And I'll close this session, and let's meet again. Thank you again. Thank you so much.